Yes, in continuation with our last class, again we discussed about flat plate collectors. In that first one, we discussed a liquid type of flat plate collector. That is what yesterday we discussed. That is what we use fluid or water as a media to heat the media with the help of solar radiations through some devices called observer, transparent cover, okay, backing materials, insulators, and casing. And similarly, the second type in that flat plate collector is a solar air heater. It is also called as a atypical air collector. So the main difference between this solar air heater and the liquid flat plate collector is, in the liquid flat plate collector we are using liquid as a substance or a media to collect the heat. Here, instead of that liquid, we are using either gas or a air is used as a media to collect the whatever the radiations from the sun. Okay.
Yes.
And this figure, you can able to see the figure on the slide. Can you see the
Yes.
figure? Yes, that figure shows that it is a type of a flat plate collector, where here we are using air as a media or substance, and is heated by a backside. It is heated by a backside of the collector. You can able to see it's the backside of the, just a minute. Okay. So this is what the typical hair heater, solar hair heater. Here hair is heated. So hair is heated backside of the this collector. This is the collector, and backside of this collector we place the tubes, and through the tubes or fins this air is flowing. So that hair will collect whatever the radiations that having the heat. Okay. And either fin or a tubes are we attached to the plate and increase the contact surfaces. That will increase the contact surfaces. And backside of this collector, the backside of that collector is heavily insulated. You just observe there is an heavy insulation. There is an heavy insulation which either it made by a woolen or any other asbestos material. It used as a insulator. And the most favorable orientation means it will placed in such a it is not placed horizontally. It should be placed in such a inclination that that inclination should favorable for collection of solar radiation, and for heating only, and it facing to the south, and inclination angle and with the horizontal surfaces, and it is up to 15 degree. It can up to 15, not 50. It can up to 15 degree. So hair has been used so for a lesser extent as an heat transport medium as solar collectors, but it many of some of the advantages over an water. Of course, previous one what we are using is water. It's a liquid flat plate collector, but here instead of water we are using a hair. It is having some advantages for the water. And here it decreases the power required to pump necessary volume of air through the tubes, because we need pump to means in the water liquid type of flat plate collector, we need a pump to pump the water from some to the required source. But in case of hair heater, we don't need such kind of pumping facility. That is the one advantage. Hello. Hello. Okay, sorry for the inconvenience. Yes, we'll continue the class. So this is what the a typical solar air heater. Okay, and this heater, it is having an advantages when compared to the liquid flat plate collector, because here we don't need any pumping facility. One thing. Second, it decreases the power required. So if you don't require any pumping, means it will decreases the power required to pump the necessary volume of air through the tube, and the wider flow of channels are used. Here we are using wider channels of channels are used for the more effectiveness. And for example, air may be passed through the space between the observer plate and the insulator with a buffel arrangements. So what is meant by buffel? Buffel plates means they are the direction plates. They will direct the air inside the that arrangement. Means the air is flowing inlet in the one side and outlet in the other side, and between that it has to go through some change in the directions with the help of these buffel plates. Buffel plate means they are the direction plates. They will direct air in the between the observer and the whatever that insulator. And this may be in the zigzag. So in the slide you just observe, it may be in the zigzag type. So this zigzag, here there is no tubes. We are not using any tubes. Okay, so inside the tube that fluid is flowing, of course, but here we are not using any tubes. Instead of tubes we are using the buffel plates and fins, so that through these fins and with the help of buffel plates, this air will flowing in a zigzag manner. This is what the zigzag manner. Okay, and the use of air as an heat transport fluid, and it will eliminate both freezing and corrosion problems. If you use water, it has some problems like corrosion. If you use a water, because of the moisture, that pipelines or the tubes may get corroded. And the observer plate, it is made by the metal, so it may be corroded. And there is a chances of freezing. The air may get freezed inside the tubes because of the low temperature. So these are the some problems we are facing in the liquid flat plate collector, but these problems are not in the solar air heater. Okay, these problems are eliminated. And a small air leakage. Of course, there may be a small air leakage in case of liquid air heater, liquid flat plate collector. If there is a leakage, it may leads to the it may lead to some problems, or it may decrease the efficiency. But here the leakage, a small leakage, it won't affect. We can neglect this leakage. And moreover, the heated air can be used directly for the space heating. Means whatever the heat is absorbed by the hair, that hot hair can use directly for direct applications like space heating. Okay, one of the main application is space or room heating purpose, and the other, and the large duct size and the higher flow rate with a increased pumping power are required for the air than when the water is in the heat transparent medium. And the another drawback of this type of this transfer air heater, it's a water in a hot supply system is inefficient. When compared to the water, it is having an inefficient. So air heater is an inefficient when compared to the water. So there are numerous variations in the design of these collectors. Of course, there are so many types of designs which are approved for this solar air heaters, and for heating by air and solar energy, which can be shown in the figure. Next slide I'm going to show. Okay, so these are the some different types of air flowing system. And here there are so many arrangements, and these with a duct and the plates and the buffel plates. So it may be a straight, it may be a zigzag type, or it may be an small fins, stagnated fins. So there are so many arrangements we are using. Okay, so these arrangements just to increase the efficiency of whatever the heat absorption. So in the first figure, this is what the typical air heater I told, and that is what the arrangements. Here some of the important components of this air heater is transparent cover. This transparent cover is the same for air heater as well as the liquid flat collector. Both the type we are using the transparent cover. Insulation also, both the case we are using the insulation. The main purpose of insulation is to avoid the heat losses. It avoids the heat losses. In the case of air heater or in case of liquid flat plate collector, the insulator is used to avoid the heat losses. And transparent cover is used to it will allow the visible light. or a shorter wavelength light through that, and that shorter wavelength having some heat, and that heat will transfer to the absorbing material. And the fluid tubes, here we are using the fluid tubes, but in case of hair heater we are using the tubes or in fins. Okay. And absorbing surface, of course, in the both the case we are using the absorbing surface that will absorb the whatever the radiation falling on that, it will absorb. And air has been used for this in this type of media. Air is a media, but in the liquid fabricator we are using the some fluids or water used as a media. And this arrangement maybe it is in the zigzag way, or it may be straight, or whatever it is a convenient to means that path will increase. If you go with a different path, it will increase the efficiency of that device or efficiency of the air collector. So in the second figure you can able to see here there is an cool water, that is what atmospheric water inlet, and it will flow through this fins with the help of buffalo plate. It will change its directions, and above this there is an absorber plate, and that absorber plate is coated with an either black color just to increase the absorption capacity, and it will absorb the radiations and it get heated, and that heat will transfer from that plate to the air which is flowing through this fins. Okay, and while flowing it will absorb the heat from the absorbing plate to this air, and slowly it will gain the temperature, and at the outlet it is having a warm, instead of water it is become a warm air. Okay, so because it is an air heater. And this is what the typical arrangements of this air heater. Okay, from the solar radiations there is a diffuse radiations as a direct radiations, and both the radiations are falling on the transparent cover. Okay, this is the cover, and this is a scattering radiations, diffuse radiations, and beam radiations are falling on the transparent cover, and beneath the transparent cover there is an absorber plate. Okay, so this is a absorber plate, and beneath the absorber plate there is an air which is flowing with the help of that it's a air passage. Through the air passage air is flowing. Okay, and conducting, and this is the insulator, and it will conduct or it will avoid the heat losses. And while air is flowing from one side to another side, or inlet to outlet, it will gain the heat from the absorber plate. Clear? This is what working of air solar heater. And there are so many types of this hair heaters or solar hair heaters. In that the first type is a non-porous absorbing. So non-porous and a porous type of absorbing. There are two important type. One is a non-porous type absorbing, in which air or steam does not flow through the absorber plate. Air may flow above and behind the absorber plate. So non-porous means here air is flowing above and below the absorber plate. Okay, and this is always it's a one type of typical arrangements. And second type is it's a porous absorber, means it includes the slit and extended metals and transferred honeycomb structure, and which lapped glass plates and absorber. Okay, through that hair is flowing. And the performance of this hair heaters we can increase by first thing by roughing the rear of the plate to promote the turbulence and improve the convection heat transfer. Means we have to create artificially the roughing the surface of the plate. If you create the roughing of the surface, so that it will create the turbulence in the airflow. If there is a smooth surface, there is no turbulence. It will smoothly the air is flowing. Okay, but if you create the rough surface, it will create the turbulence. It will provide disturbance for the airflow. Means it creates artificially turbulence. So the turbulence means the somewhat the air will stay inside that air passage, and it will gain as much as heat. So increase the efficiency. Okay, one thing. Second thing, by adding a fins. If you add the fins to increase the heat transfer, means if we adding more fins for the air passage, so that air will flow for the more time. If it will flow for the more time, it will absorb more heat, and also it will increase the performance. Okay, so this is how we can increase the performance of air heater, solar air heater. And come to the applications of solar air heater. The typical applications of solar air heaters, which are supply hot air, that could be mainly used for the following purpose. The first one is heating building. In the figure you can able to see heating buildings, okay, or home heating purpose, home heating or heating the building. So in the window you just observe first figure in the slide, okay, or second figure. So those two are the heating a building. We are using solar air heater. So solar air heater is used just like a in the window, okay, they installed, and the atmospheric air, it will absorb the atmospheric air, then and on that there is transparent cover. On that the radiations directly falling from the sun onto the transparent cover, and it will allow that radiations to the observer plate, and the observer plate will absorb the solar radiations and convert that radiations to the heat, and that heated observer plate, and beneath that there is an air is flowing, and that air will absorb the heat and it will become warm air, and that warm air will supply to the whatever the building required or room required. So this is what the space heating or heating the buildings. It's a one typical applications. And the second application is drying agricultural products, okay, drying agricultural products. And so this is what the another applications means. In the agricultural, we know that so main agricultural farmers are mainly depends on the sun as well as rain, okay. Of course rain is for the growing the plants, okay, and once the plants are grow enough and we got the wheat, and after that there is an that whatever the product we got from the agriculture, that has to dry with the help of sun. You just see nearby the villages, there is a paddy or there is a maize, so many agricultural products are laying on the land, and they will allow for the dry. Solar, there is a that is what the natural drying, okay, but every time it is not possible because of the sudden changes in the climate. There may be a rain, they may destroy the paddy or maize, okay. So for we need artificial drying the solar products, okay, that is with the help of this type of systems. So in the third figure, in our slide, we just observe the third figure. In that there is a one fan is okay rotating. That fan will absorb the atmospheric air, and it will flowing through that. There is a device, and that device there is an transparent cover as well as observer plate, and the and that is what fins are provided. So through that the air is flowing and it will absorb the heat, and that hot water, it is next chamber. In that it is allow for the drying purpose, okay, agricultural product drying purpose. It is also used for the areca, okay. So for drying of that areca, we need that, okay. So there are so many applications used for the in agricultural purpose. And next, heating the greenhouse. So greenhouse, I told greenhouse means increasing the temperature of the atmosphere. So artificially, if you increase the temperature of the atmosphere, it is become an greenhouse. So greenhouse, but with the help of that greenhouse, we are growing some plants or we are growing some vegetables. For that, we need a warm air. So with the help of this type of arrangements, we can easily provide the hot air for that greenhouse. And next application is air conditioning. So air conditioning a building and utilizing the for any absorption refrigeration process means here it's another typical application of this is air conditioning. So we already know that what is meant by air conditioning and refrigeration. Refrigeration means it's a process of reducing the temperature below that of surroundings with the help of external work, okay. So that external work can be done by with the help of this hot air. So hot solar heaters, and this solar heaters can used for as an air conditioning. So air conditioning means it will provides the cool air. Okay, so for providing the cool air, we need a external work. That external work is done by with the help of this solar air heaters or solar hot air, and also refrigeration purpose also we can use. So it is called as solar air heaters or solar air conditionings. And the solar air heaters, we can heat the source, and we can used for the heat engines. Okay, Stirling cycles. So these are the another typical applications, automobile applications. And come to the advantages of this flat plate collectors. So this flat plate collectors having an advantages. It is used for both. This is used for both the radiations, beam and as well as diffused solar radiations. And second thing, this is do not requires orientations towards the sun. Means it won't need any tracking systems. It won't need any tracking systems. It is fixed. In a one angle, we are going to fixed. That's it. Continuously through that angle only, it will perform its work. And they requires a little maintenance. Maintenance is very less because less number of components, so that less maintenance. Only a transparent plate, absorbers, then insulators, then tubes and fins. So less number of parts, so less maintenance. If more number of parts, more maintenance. And they are mechanically simpler. There is no mechanical movements. If there is a mechanical, like your automobiles or your bike or car, there is a mechanical. So mechanical movements. So continuously piston is moving, cylinders in the piston, cylinder and piston is continuously operating. Okay, and crankshaft is operating, and your gears are operating. So there is a mechanical movement. If there is a mechanical movement, it need a maintenance, and there is a vibrations, there is a noise. So to avoid that, again we need so many systems. So its operating cost is also more. But here there is very less number of mechanical movements, so that less maintenance, less initial cost, as well as it is an noise and vibrations also very less. Okay, so of course these are all a renewable source of energies, and they are eco-friendly. Okay. So next interesting topic is a concentrating collector, or it is also called as a focusing type of solar collector. So far what we discussed is a flat plate collector. It is a flat plate collector. But now we are going to discuss a different type. It is called as a concentrating or focusing. All the radiations are focusing at a point or at a line. It is called focusing type. So here focusing collector, it is a device to collect the solar energy. Either maybe focusing type or a concentrating type or a flat plate. Both are used to collect the solar energy. But here focusing type, why we have to go with focusing type rather than flat plate means, in the flat plate we already know that whatever the collecting area which is equal to observing area, means we need a large area. But in focusing area, so the collecting area and observing area is different. Here only a small amount of observing area. With that small amount of observing area, we can collect the as much as a more heat when compared to the flat plate collectors. Okay, and here with an high intensity, this focusing type is an high intensity of solar radiations on an energy absorbing surface. When compared to the flat plate, it is an high intensity of solar radiation collection capacity. And such collectors are generally, it's an optical system in which forms the reflectors or refractors. It's with the reflectors or refractors. Okay, and means this focusing type is with an reflectors or refractors. And a focusing collectors is a special from an flat plate collectors modified by an introducing an reflecting or an refracting surfaces. Here in the flat plate collector, all the radiations, whatever the radiations falling on the flat plate is absorbed. But in the concentrating type, here not absorbing, but instead of absorbing, we are placing a reflecting or refracting. We are placing refracting or reflectors. We are placing. Okay, and this focusing a flat uh, plate sorry, this focusing type of collectors is a special from is special because it is made with a refractors and reflecting, and these medias may be optical systems. We can use optical systems for reflecting the radiations. We are not directly absorb the radiations, but whatever the radiations falling on that focusing plate, first it will reflect to one particular point, then it will absorb. But in case of flat plate collector, directly it will absorb the radiations. Clear? Directly it will absorb the radiations, and these radiations, and these with an high value of order of 10,000 means this when compared to the flat plate collector, this efficiency is nearly one time, two time, three time, up to 1,000 times we can increase when compared to the flat plate collector. And in this type of collector, radiations falling on relatively a larger area is focused on a receiver. Whatever the radiations falling on the observer, it is focusing on one particular point. It is called receiver. Okay, and considering very small area, the receiver, okay, and whatever the collecting area. So collecting area and receiver having a difference in the area. Receiver is a very small area, collector is a very big area. But in case of flat plate collector, receiver as well as collector both having a same area. Okay, as a result of this, energy concentration fluid can be heated and it can easily attain the temperature more than 500 degrees centigrade. But in case of a normal flat plate collector, we can achieve only 100 degrees centigrade. But here we can easily achieve the 500 degrees centigrade. See, you can increase the heat absorbing capacity as well as decreasing with a absorber area. This is what the typical advantages of concentric or focusing type of solar collector. An important difference between these collectors of a non-focusing and focusing type. Here also there are two types. One is a focusing and non-focusing, and the main difference between these is in the very direct radiations coming from the specific directions. Since the diffuse radiations arise from all the directions, only a small portion is from the direction which the focusing occurs. Here also we can have both the direct and diffused radiations. The optical systems for reflecting, optical systems is direct the solar radiations onto an observer of a small area, which is as usually surrounded by a transparent cover. So that observer, it is surrounded by a transparent cover. Because of optical system, a certain loss, because we know that already optical system is used to reflect. So whatever the 100% radiations fall on the optical systems, it won't reflect to the, or it won't concentrate to the that observer. Some portion of radiations may waste or loss. Because of a optical system, a certain losses takes place, which occurs while in the radiations is transmitted through the cover are introduced, and these includes a reflections or absorptions losses in the mirror or in lens, and losses due to the geometrical imperfections in the optical system. And the combination effect of all these losses is indicated through the more optical losses is compensated by for we can calculate it as optical efficiency. If more optical efficiency, it will reflect as much as possible radiations to the receiver. Okay, and introduction to the more optical losses is compensated for by the fact that the flux incident or observer surface is concentrated on a smaller area. As a result, the thermal losses terms do not dominate to the same extent in the flat plate collector, and the collection efficiency is as usually higher. So these are the some advantages over an flat plate to the concentric or focusing type of collector. And here classifications of these collectors are there are two main important type. One is a focusing type and non-focusing type of concentrated collectors. And in the focusing type, again there are subcategories are line type of focusing and point type of focusing. Either all the radiations are focusing to a line type of focusing or to an one particular point. Okay, again these line focusing can classified as a parabolic through collectors, cylindrical, parabolic, a mirror strip reflectors, or Fresnel lens collector. We already know that what is meant by Fresnel lens collector. And in that second type is a point focusing type. Here paraboloidal collector and central tower concept. Okay, and non focusing type, there are flat plate collectors with adjustable mirror, flat plate collector with adjustable mirror, and compound parabolic concentrator. So in this typical classifications, we are discuss only a cylindrical parabolic type, parabolic through collector, as well as paraboloidal collector. We are discussing three important type of this focusing type. One is parabolic, second one is cylindrical parabolic, and paraboloidal collector.